Brenda called later and said, a year later, said, I know there were lots of town meetings that were held back in the 70s, and we need to train people on how to do that kind of thing in the villages. And so we want you to come and do a training course for that purpose. So we said, okay, we will, but we have to be able to do one at the end of it was to be 3 days. So at the end of the 3 days, they've got to be able to actually do one in the village. So she said, sure. So that time, rather than doing it in Nome, we went out to St. Michael's, which is a fishing village right on the Sound, looking out over the Bering Sea. And they brought people in from a number of villages. Have to fly in, no road that goes in.
Roads. From Nome there are 3 roads, 2 go north and 1 goes south, and they go like 3 or 4 miles maximum. That's the only roads in that whole area.
Yeah. So we spent 3 days doing kind of a crash course in how you could conduct a village meeting. Interesting. One of the men we both remember particularly was quite elderly. Lived out in a very remote village
On an island, yeah.
on an island, and we're very surprised when we heard how he would read the New York Times every day on the internet to keep up with things, and he was a carver, scrimshaw on ivory.
Well, actually, his family for generations had been walrus hunters,
Yeah.
and that's where they got the ivory to carve. You know,
Yeah.
it was from there.
And he was setting up a site on the internet in order to sell his carving.
And he very proudly told us about how during this last number of years, the population of walrus had increased rather markedly.
So we don't know what's happening now. This is a few years later, but
But you know, there's always that worry about, especially when you're buying ivory, you're going to get ivory, is what are you doing to the populations up there? But he assured us that they're taking care of them.
so we did the village meeting at the end of the 3rd day. Everybody had their assignments, and this was they were doing this through a grant that they had for elders, and it was a needs assessment grant, and that's what we did the first training to help them go out and do this. And when she called back, she said, I know we talked about doing it differently, but what we're getting is, oh, we need this, and we need this, and we need that, and we need this, and we've got to break through that. And that's how the image of the town meeting came to mind from what she'd heard. And it was quite an amazing evening. A good turnout. This is a little tiny village. A good turnout of the elders and our students.
Many of them didn't speak English.
Many of them didn't speak English. Many of our students participated in those who'd been there for the training participated in leading it. It wasn't quite the way our town meetings looked when we held them back in the 70s and whenever, but they certainly broke through what they'd hoped. What they'd hoped to happen certainly did. They had no trouble talking about how they, as elders, could contribute to the community. In fact, they took it on in a rather unbelievable way. And at the end, one woman stood up and, not speaking English, but making a very passionate, dramatic speech, which had people in tears.
And we were the only ones in the room that weren't in tears.
Until someone thought to clue us in, and she was making a very passionate speech about the plight of their youth and how they, as elders,
Had failed them.
had failed them and had to take responsibility to present something, present hope to the youth of their village, because and suicide rate was very high. In fact, one of the elders had a grandson who committed suicide just the week before we were there. So it was a tremendous evening. The elementary, some of the elementary kids did some dances, and it was quite a spirit event. They were all very excited, and we were really pleased when we were presented with this as a gift, along with the ulu. This is made by a well-known Alaskan doll maker who lived there in the village of St. Michael's. And I've seen some catalogs of Alaskan doll makers, and she's listed in the catalog.
Well, this is genuine seal skin and wolf skin, and I don't remember.
Caribou.
The boots are caribou. The face and the are caribou hide.
So this is a special piece for us.
They have, see this around here. This is wolf hair right around their face, and the reason they always put it there is that it doesn't icicle up. There's clear.